I wasn't planning on filming, so I apologize if it sounds really chaotic, but I just came in the rabbit room, and this is what I came into. Now, this isn't just a really bad molt, and if you look at the rabbits now, you can't really tell, but they're fighting really bad. I think what a lot of people, oh, see, that's, okay. I'm watching them. If anything gets too bad, I will obviously stop filming and break it up. I'm just trying to show what some territorial behavior can look like, because I think to the average person it's really easy to miss. For example, right now, both of the rabbits are actually very riled up, and neither of them are comfortable. You can tell by their body positions and how they're staring at each other. See, but to someone who's maybe not so experienced, it kind of just looks like rabbits are just looking at each other. Okay. I want to be a little bit closer to them. So even though rabbits are, hey. So pet rabbits are descendants of the European rabbits, who in the wild are naturally very social, but when we keep them as pets, obviously for one, they're slightly different. That's what domestication means. The same way a dog is a domesticated wolf, a rabbit is a domesticated European rabbit. So they are different in that sense, but also we can't replicate the same conditions as the wild. A huge factor is space. For example, in the wild, when rabbits have spits and spalls, they can get away from each other and they're not competing over the same limited territory. Oftentimes, you will have rabbits chase each other out of their territory. When you have rabbits in captivity, since they can't really chase anyone out of their territory, this usually results in them fighting. Also, most pet rabbits don't really get to choose their companions. Now, the extent to this choosing does vary. Of course, if you're doing bunny bonding through a shelter, there is a lot more choice. But if you did what I did, where I had a rabbit, I got a second rabbit as a baby from a breeder, and I bonded them, sometimes those rabbits can get along, and if you do the bonding, I'm gonna hold one of them. Okay, Sachin gets to be on the table and get treats because he's kind of the one getting beat up. I'm sorry, Bubsters. So my rabbits are pretty much forced to bond with each other, and they didn't really have a choice. Now, if you go about the bonding process correctly, because rabbits are so highly social, for the most part, the bond will take, and they are going to get along pretty well. But of course, not every single rabbit personalities mesh, and even if your rabbits do get along well, they might not get along every single time. Both my rabbits are males, which are a pretty unlikely bond in the wild. I've been successful because in captivity, they don't have any females in sight and they've never bred before. So they don't, even though they have those instincts, it's not really something that they've experienced. They're also neutered, which helps for a fact. But at the end of the day, they're both males. They both know each other are males, and sometimes they see each other as threats. This isn't exclusive to male-on-male partnerships. In fact, female-to-female bonds can actually, I've heard, be even more violent. And again, even male and female bonds can fight, though they tend to be the most peaceful. Now, I definitely want to do a more in-depth video on my opinion on how to approach a situation like this. But as of right now, first, I'm obviously going to separate the rabbits. They have a fairly big area, but it's too small for me to feel comfortable to leave them here unsupervised. To an extent, their dominance hierarchy is going to change, and I do have to let them kind of figure things out. It's winter, so they usually aren't too hormonal about this time, but with rabbits, you never know. And they're also indoors, so the temperature isn't exactly like the wild, so the seasons can be a little bit off. I have to do a lot of observing to see who's causing the fights, exactly what the issues and triggers are. Right now, it seems like Butchin is initiating most of the fights. That boy. But I'll have to watch, and I'll kind of have to see what the triggers are. Butchin seems to be a lot more comfortable, and Sachin, you can't tell now because he's having treats, but he is definitely more on edge. So I will separate the rabbits. Because I see Butchin being more dominant, I'm going to be putting Butchin in the smaller cage because I think it helps Sachin to feel more comfortable because he can get as much space from Butchin as he wants. And in a time where one rabbit already feels very hormonal and very territorial, they aren't going to be in the most comfortable, relaxed state anyway, so he's going to be stressed out no matter how much space he can get from Sachin, so I'd rather give Sachman the opportunity to get some space from Butchin and have a break. Also, rabbit fights aren't pretty. There's obviously been a lot of hair pulled out. Let me see if I can show you guys what a bald, oh, I think I found one. So luckily they don't seem to have any cuts or bleeds. For the most part, if you check on your rabbits often, you can usually see before the fight gets too bad. Sometimes you might even see like symptoms of a fight leading up to before it happens. I personally didn't notice anything with these guys, but I wasn't also looking for it. Sometimes you'll notice things like one just gets a little bit more annoyed about litter box, or just see a little bit more nipping, and then eventually you see something huge like this. Oh, here's a bald spot. These make me really sad, and I know that I'm probably going to get hate for this in the comments and people are going to use this against me, but again, this is the reality of having social species. I'm going to have to do a very, I don't want to say investigation, but I'm going to have to check them out, make sure that there is no blood or anything like that. So far, it looks like just the hair has been ripped out, but quite forcibly. It's a pretty big, I'm sorry, Bubbies, but he doesn't seem to be in any pain. He's eating, which is good. Butchin probably has the same wounds. Let me show you some of that. And again, this usually doesn't mean that the rabbits are aggressive. It just, they have spits and spalls with each other. It doesn't mean that you have a mean rabbit or an evil rabbit or anything like that. To note that some rabbits will never have a super stable bond. For some rabbits, you might constantly have to be separating them and rebonding them, or you might always have to be very careful about feeding, or even be separating them completely for feeding in situations like that. For the most part, these guys are very good. Sachin is usually a lot more dominant just because he's more outgoing. And I noticed this happen last year. Oh, I think it was like March of this year. Butchin was getting kind of, ooh, bless you. Somebody's sneezing. Oh, brother, what was that for? I noticed this last year where Butchin kind of was trying to be more dominant. And again, Sachin is getting older. Butchin is kind of reaching his prime. So these things are kind of inevitable. When you have rabbits that aren't the same age, they're constantly going to be reworking the hierarchy. So, okay, so I got a pen set up in here. I know it looks like a mess. I've been awake for like 18 hours and I've been working on homework for like literally 18 hours straight. I'm so exhausted. I just want to go to bed. So it's done in a hurry. They both have everything that they need. Sachin still has the whole room. Butchin has a tunnel, a litter box, and a water bowl. I want to specify why Butchin is in the smaller pen because I feel like the explanation I said before felt kind of mean. There's nothing wrong with Butchin. In fact, he is, I'm not going to lie, he's actually a lot sweeter than Sachin, and especially when he gets kind of hormonal, even though he's mean to Sachin, he becomes like extra sweet to me. So he's an angel. He doesn't deserve to be locked up or anything like that. It's just from what I've seen based on the time I was supervising them while they were fighting. Sorry if I sound out of breath. But it's that Butchin was approaching Sachin. So he was approaching him and he was kind of initiating the fights. So in a situation like that, if Sachin was in the smaller cage, Butchin would be bothering Sachin 24/7 because Butchin is kind of looking for a fight. This way, even though Butchin is still probably going to be at the edge trying to cause a fight with Sachin, Sachin has the choice whether he wants to interact and maybe have a little bit of a fight, or if he wants to go away and have his own space like he's doing right now. I have the litter box next to them because Butchin seems to be a lot more calm now, and he doesn't seem to have issue with Sachin coming near the cage. But if I notice that Sachin is like too scared to approach the litter box, I can obviously move it. I'm not going to do any veggies because they've lost a lot of hair. They've probably eaten a lot of hair. So at a point like this, I want them to have as much hay in their system as possible. Both have been thoroughly checked. Sachin has a few more clumps of hair missing. Butchin doesn't have anything major. He kind of just has like a lot of thinned hair because obviously hair's been pulled out. They both are okay. No one's bleeding. Everything looks fine. The process from here, obviously you have two choices. You can decide to separate them permanently. You can do separated enclosures where they're still next to each other. Or what I'm going to do is actually rebond them. Some people, when something like this happens, their first instinct is to never let it happen again. But I think these type of situations are inevitable with social species. Humans, we're social species. There's probably been so many people that have made you feel terrible about yourself, but just because of that, your parents aren't going to lock you away from every single person, right? So if I felt like their fights were very terrible and they can't even stand each other, I would obviously move them to separate rooms. But because they did have some moments where they were okay, obviously not grooming each other or anything like that, more just like grooming themselves or eating in the presence of each other, which shows some level of comfort. As you can see, they're both eating a treat now, which is kind of a good test. Coco, come here. Coco, leave Sachin alone. He's saying Sachin wants to play. This is another reason. Don't let your dogs and rabbits in tracks, because Coco is excited. Sachin kind of sees that as a threat right now, because I think Coco's going to get beat up. Come here. You got to give him some space, Bubs. Okay, so this is a situation right now. I'll keep you guys updated. Just do what feels right. This is what I like to do. The bars through these pens, I guess it is like a little bit of a danger, but I don't think it's anything major. I've always had these pens with the bars. I guess if they really wanted to, but see, such is not. I think this area makes it look worse than it is. Obviously, see, look, that's him trying to initiate a fight. Can you tell? Right now, he's just like, hey, what are you doing? But it quickly turns into, I want to claim that as mine, and I want to take over. But even rabbits, when they're fighting, it's not always all bad. So, okay, I know this video is very chaotic. I think I had someone, I asked for assumptions, and someone said that I'm very, impulsive with what I post. And I completely agree. For me, when I have an idea and something that I want to share, because I think it's important, my first goal isn't to, write a script or to figure out, how I can clickbait this or how I can make, a huge production and make tons of money or make it, super elaborate. My goal is to get the information out to you guys, and sometimes it's a little bit more concise. Other times it's not. If there's something I did in this video that you completely disagree with, feel free to voice your opinions. Also, maybe, give me a chance to explain, because I know, I probably sound, super annoyed and, super, I don't want to say I hate my animals. I love them so much, but I think sometimes when you're, frustrated about a situation, it can come out in the way you talk about your pets. And I don't want you guys to think that I don't love these guys, because I love them so much. It just, sometimes situations suck, especially after you've had a really long day. And now you know what you're going to be doing for, the next 2 months. Because, I hate when this happens, because he already has bad litter habits, but I know it's going to be 10 times worse. This is going to be, covered in pee tomorrow and poop. He already peed at that. I'm so mad. I just got this, and there's already pee on it. I know it was Butchin. It's always Butchin. Sachin is so good with his litter habits. Oh, see? There's another. If the barrier wasn't there, he probably would have initiated a fight. Can you guys kind of see why Butchin's in a small pen? Again, we don't hate Butchin. We love Butchin. But Butchin kind of hates Sachin right now. Okay, long day. I'm going to go to bed. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you have bonded rabbits, just be prepared. This stuff doesn't always happen, but it's a huge possibility. I'm sorry, Butchie. I feel so bad when one of them's in a smaller cage, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, this is the next morning. I know the room still looks filthy. I might clean it tonight. I might clean it tomorrow. I have finals all of this week, so I really want to study and get through that. Nothing in the room is unhygienic or anything. It's just really messy. It's just their own fur and poop. And rabbit poop is not like dog poop. There's not really bacteria in it. You can touch it with your hands and stuff. This is Butchin. Hi, babe. He surprisingly didn't make a mess of this area. I thought he was going to be peeing and pooping a lot. I think I'm just going to watch them for a minute and see how they interact through the gate. And then maybe I'll just see how they are together. I still feel like that's really soon, but I guess we'll see. As you can see, he still looks really uneasy, so I don't think I'll let them be together yet, but unsupervised, but maybe I'll try something supervised. I'll keep you guys updated. Okay, a little bit scary. I'm not thrilled about the location, but I did let Butchin out because I would rather them not be in a super small area, just to kind of see how they are. I actually saw Sachin was initiating more, so maybe Sachin needs to go in the small cage. I guess we'll see. Okay, yeah, definitely nothing super bad, but definitely still, see, they're just kind of okay, yeah, I'm breaking this. I definitely felt like Sachin was initiating a little bit more that time, so I'm going to put him in the small cage, and I wanted Butchin to have a chance to run around anyways, because this cage is 16 square feet, which is double the minimum for a single rabbit, but I still feel like it's a little bit small, so I'm going to let Butchin have the big room for a little bit, for a couple hours, and then I'll come back, see how they are again, and swap them out. I don't want to permanently bond them unsupervised because I just have way too much going on this week to really be checking on them as often as I'd like if they were together. So I'm going to keep them separated the rest of this week, but hopefully they can have some interaction together. I guess we'll see.